So today we are reviewing for your test over 2.1 to 2.4. 2.1 to 2.4. So we're going to answer these one question at a time. Now, you can go ahead and write down the question if you'd like, or you can just write down the answer because the video will be on YouTube and you can view these questions all over again on the YouTube channel. All right, so either way is fine. So the first question is, and you need to at least write the answer on your paper and go ahead and number these. Which number property deals with order? Which number property deals with order? Write the answer on your paper. So what is it, guys? It is the commutative property. Very good. All right, what number property now deals with opposites? Number 2. What number property deals with opposites? Just tell me. Inverse property. Very good. Which number property's keyword is mirror? Identity. The identity property. Very good. And the fourth one, which property says you can group numbers in any order? Associative. All right, so you need to know some of those keywords, associative property. All right, now let's get into our inverse and identity property terms. What is the multiplicative inverse of 5? Write it on your paper. What is the multiplicative inverse of 5? Yes, the multiplicative inverse of 5 is 1 over 5 or 1/5. What about the additive inverse of 3? What would it be? Negative 3. So we know additive inverse means opposite. Multiplicative inverse means reciprocal. So I flip it. All right. Now this is just going to be a matter of I've got to remember which one's which. If you remember that, you can do this for any number that I give you on your test tomorrow. Okay. What value is known as the additive identity and what value is known as the multiplicative identity? Go ahead and answer those questions on your paper. Value is the additive identity? 0. Which one is the multiplicative identity? 1. 0 and 1. And that's just, again, something that we have to have memorized. Now, the number properties aren't just isolated to the first section on your test tomorrow. If you know them and you understand how to apply them, it will make solving many of the other problems on your test much easier. So yesterday when I was grading the quiz, I saw that I had a lot of students trying to multiply out and add and subtract these fractions by hand. But what they forgot about is the application of our number properties to actually move those numbers around, those terms around, to make it easier to solve. So in the first slide, let's look at a couple expressions. All right, the first one says 3x plus 10 minus 2x minus 3x. When you are copying that down on your paper, I want you to go ahead and rearrange the terms. Group your opposites together. So the very first thing you're going to look for with all of these expressions tomorrow is, are there any opposites in there that I can group together and cancel out? If the answer is yes, put them together, cancel them out, and it'll make it a lot easier to solve these expressions or simplify them. All right, so go ahead and do that right now on your papers. Austin? So we have 3x. What would I want to put behind the 3x? Negative 3x, right? 3x minus 3x. Then I have a 10. What would I want to put behind the 10? The negative 10. And then the negative 2x, because now see what happens. 3x minus 3x cancels. 10 minus 10 cancels. My answer is negative 2x. And you don't have to write the 0 plus 0 part. You don't have to write that. All right? We just recognize our opposites. They cancel out. There wasn't even any math to do. All I had to do was just cancel them out. My answer is negative 2x. All right? Try to do the same thing with the second one. Now we're still adding and subtracting. It's just, what do I need to match up together? Do I have any opposites in there that could cancel out and make it easier to solve? All right, so what did you group together? We did, let's say 8. What do we want to put behind the 8? Negative 8. Very good. I'm going to put that minus 8 right behind it. And then we have 2/3. What do I want to put behind 2/3? Negative 2/3. Match up my opposites. And then plus 6. And guess what? Cancels, cancels. My answer is 6. So you have a section like this. The section on your quiz that this matches up with is numbers 6, 7, and 8. On numbers 6, 7, and 8, there were opposites in there that you could potentially cancel out. I've had a lot of questions about number 8 in particular. So while this is not number 8, you see up here on the board, it is very similar because there are two numbers out here in front of the parentheses. And a common mistake that I saw on the quiz yesterday was people were adding this before they were multiplying the distributive property. But remember, order of operations says that I multiply before I add. So now I want you to look at your quiz. What did you do on number 8? Did you add those two numbers out front and then multiply? Okay, and if you did, you just got to remember to follow order of operations. So now on your review sheet that we're doing right now, I want you to go ahead and try to do this one. 6 plus 2 times 2b minus 3. And remember, you do not add first. You have to do the distributive property first. Okay, so go ahead and do that. All right, so we get 6, we just bring the 6 down, plus 4b minus 6. Well, guess what? My answer is just 4b because my 6 is canceled. So yesterday on the quiz, some people even left their answer. Obviously, it was different numbers, but they left it like that, but they just forgot I can simplify it even further. I've got to cancel out those opposites. All right, so hopefully that'll help you, maybe even on your quiz corrections. All right, now in the next slide, I'm simplifying expressions here. I may not necessarily have opposites. Now, while that's still the first question on my mind, I look at this expression. Do you see any opposites in this expression? Anything that immediately is jumping out at you? Any opposites here? There are no opposites, so there's nothing that I can necessarily cancel. However, I still go by my same rule of grouping my like terms together. So when you're copying this expression down onto your paper, go ahead and group your like terms together. All right, so what did you group with your 6x? What did you group with 6x?
3x. Negative 3x.
Negative 3x. If it's negative in the original, keep it negative. Plus 12 plus 4. What'd you get for your answer? What's 6 minus 3? 3x. What's 12 plus 4? 16. Who got it right? 3x plus 16. Awesome. Okay, are y'all catching on a little bit more? Kind of filling in those blanks? All right, go ahead. Now let's look at the second one. Now on the second one, here's what's throwing people off here. I understand that I have to do distributive property, but what am I multiplying the terms by? Am I multiplying it by 3 or by negative 3? It's negative 3. I have to remember there's a negative in front of that 3. So negative 3 times 2x and negative 3 times 2. Go ahead and do that distributive property and then rewrite your expression. Okay, what's negative 3 times 2x? What'd you write on your papers? Negative 6x. What's negative 3? Okay, so I have a lot of students getting this part, and then they forget to multiply negative 3 times 2. Also, they just try to bring their 2 down. But what's negative 3 times 2? Negative 6. All right, so now I have to ask myself, is this my final answer, or is there anything else that can be simplified more? What? 4x minus 6x. And what is 4x minus 6x? Negative 2x. So we also have to train our minds to understand that even though we kind of tend to think that our answers should be positive, it's okay for our answers to be negative. All right, so yesterday in the quiz I had a couple questions about one question in particular. We'll go over it in a minute, but they were having a hard time with it because they thought their answer should be positive. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be positive. Your answer can be negative sometimes. Did anybody else get negative 2x minus 6 before I put it up there? Okay, good. Good. Making good progress. All right, one more slide on simplifying expressions. Just trying to cover every possible concept you might see on your test. So now here's two more problems. These are just straight distributive property. All right, are you looking? Here's your first problem. -2 times -3x minus 3. Go ahead and solve. Not solve, simplify. We can't solve because we don't know what x equals. All right, shh. All right, go ahead and solve this. What's -2 times -3x? Positive 6x. Okay, so you've got to get your signs right. What's -2 times -3? Positive 6. Did anybody get that completely right?
So I just didn't know what to do if I was supposed to put a plus.
Okay, so what about the next one? Go ahead and do the next one. Okay, what's 2 times 2x?
4x.
What's 2 times 5? Who got that one right? Okay, good. All right, now let's look at the parts of the expression. So we had a lot of confusion. I wouldn't say a lot, but there were definitely some missed problems here. So we need to review this and try to clear up any confusion that there might be. Go ahead and write this expression in your notes. -10x plus 6 plus 2x minus 12. We're going to go through it part by part. So when we're identifying the terms, what do I put in between each term? I put a comma, okay? If it's positive, do I have to put a plus sign?
Yes.
No. But if it's negative, I need to put a negative sign. So here we go. Let's list them together. -10x, 6, 2x, and -12. All right, did you write that?
No.
Okay, now on your papers, I want you to group your like terms together. When I say group them together, what does that mean?
Put them in parentheses.
Put them in parentheses. Go ahead and do that. All right, someone raise your hand and tell me what's one group of like terms. Brady?
6 and -12.
Okay, 6 and -12. What's my other group? Layla?
-10x and 2.
Very good. -10x and 2x. Who got them both? All right, so easy tomorrow, right? Now, constants and coefficients are another common, both common terms that are easily confused. So before I tell you what's what, I want to see who can get the constants right. Go ahead and see if you can list the constants. Hey, what are your constants? What did you say?
6, -10x.
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of different things. Constant is a number by itself. There's nothing else in the term that can affect its value. All right, so do you still want to keep your answer on your paper? What are my constants? 6 and -12. Okay, now with the coefficients, what are my coefficients?
-10 and 2x.
Okay, so here's the common answer that I see. -10x and 2x. What did they do wrong?
They put the x.
They put the x. It is in a term. Yes, you've got to take that variable off. Okay, so it's just -10 and 2. Did you get that? Now answer yes. Okay,
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
get that? Yes. All right, good. Any questions about the parts of an expression? This is 16 points on your test tomorrow. This is 4 questions. All right, now if you miss a sign, it's going to be half credit. If you miss 2 signs, it's wrong. Okay? All right, so that's the parts of the expression. The last thing we need to cover is writing verbal sentences, writing the sentences into equations. All right, the sum of 10 and x is 23. Here's something that was easily confused yesterday, or saw this mistake happening more than once. They were putting the equation on their paper, but they were trying to solve it in the equation. So they had no variable in their equation. The equation has to have a variable. All right, so go ahead and write your equation. I'm not looking for the answer yet. Just write the equation. What's the equation, guys? 10 plus x equals 23. And we can use mental math to solve. X equals what? 13, and we box it in. All right, so equation and then a box to answer. Go ahead and write your equation for the second one. What's my equation? Someone raise your hand. What's my equation? Kyan? Okay, so he said negative 5 plus n equals 6, and I said negative 5 plus q. Just one of my students from another class, they thought they'd be funny and say q. But does it matter?
No.
No, it doesn't matter. You can choose. Kyan chose n. We could choose q. We can choose whatever variable we want as long as it goes in the correct spot in the equation. Doesn't matter. All right? So since it says a number in the equation doesn't tell me which variable to use, I can choose whatever one I want. And negative 5 plus what number would give me 6? It is 11. And here's how I can figure it out. How many units is it going to take me to get from negative 5 to 0? 5. And then from 0 to 6? 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. All right, so I said q equals 11. If you chose a different variable, just that variable equals 11, and we're good. All right, now I did want to go over one other question that is similar to something that you may have seen on something else recently. Something like this. The difference of 4 and a number is 10. I want you to try to write this equation. The difference of 4 and a number is 10. Don't solve it yet. Just write the equation exactly how you see it written in the sentence. Who thinks they have the equation? Who has it? Let's see. Shonda, what'd you put?
4 minus x equals 10.
4 minus x equals 10. That's exactly what I put, actually. But hold on a second. How can you subtract a number from 4 and it ends up being more than 4? It's got to be a double negative. So x must equal what? Negative 6. And then if you plugged that in, turns into a double negative, and now you are adding. That may help you on a certain question that may have come up recently somewhere. A new quiz. All right. Okay, so on to our very last slide, which is just more sentences, verbal sentences as equations. Yeah, did it click? Yeah. All right, the quotient of 25 and x is negative 5, and the product of negative 5 and a number, so again, a number, I can use whatever variable I want, is 40. So we could see it written either way. Go ahead and make your equations. Don't necessarily solve. I need an equation first and then your answer. All right, anybody think they wrote the equation right? Matthew?
25 divided by x equals negative 5.
Very good. So, what do you think x equals?
Negative 5.
What'd you put, Jamara? It is negative 5, and here's why. How would you get from a dividing by a positive to a negative answer? You've got to divide by a negative number, negative 5. What about the second one? Anybody have that equation? The second one? Anybody have that one yet? Manuel, do you have that one yet?
No, ma'am, I'm doing it right now.
Mackenzie, do you have it?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you put?
Negative 5 times n.
Very good. Negative 5 times n equals 40. So now, again, I'm faced with this situation where I've got a negative and I have to multiply it by some number and my answer has to be positive. So what would n equal? Negative 8.
That's right.
Negative 8. Very good. Okay. And guys, your test is no easier or harder than the review that you just saw. Okay? So it's not that you're going to see your test tomorrow and be like, oh my goodness, I've never seen anything like this before. No, you have. You saw the quiz yesterday. We did the review. Your test tomorrow shouldn't be any surprises. You've got to know the concepts that we just reviewed, and if you do, then you should be good for the test tomorrow.